Thank you, Simon. Thank you for inviting me here and having this wonderful event. This has been wonderful. I got in from Berlin on 2 hours of sleep, and this has been a very energizing day, which is great. My name is Jon Leland. I am the Director of Strategy and Insights at Kickstarter. I mainly work with our outreach team on growing and developing our categories, our 15 categories, everywhere in the world. Recently, I've been focusing a lot on Europe and our recent launches both today and yesterday here, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Simon asked me to talk about a couple things today. One is to sort of dive into our mission and our principles at Kickstarter, because they're a little bit unusual, and I don't think people in the Netherlands and in Europe actually are that familiar with sort of where we come from and what our culture is at its core, and talk a little bit about Kickstarter in Europe now and in the future. So to talk about sort of our mission and principles is really to kind of ask why Kickstarter itself exists and has become kind of as popular as it is. And this is really what Kickstarter is at its core. It's a place to create something to share with others. And really the reason why this has become so successful is what I think is fascinating. It's really the reason why we're all here, which is that something's changed about the world over the last 5 to 10 years. And that's mostly that corporations, large, giant corporations, used to be the only entities capable of producing sophisticated cultural and consumer goods for a mass audience, right? If you wanted to make a film, if you wanted to make a smartwatch, if you wanted to produce a music album, if you wanted to write a book, you had to go through a production studio, you had to go through Sony or Microsoft to make a lot of these products. And that's not true anymore. It's a whole network of technologies that have risen up over the last decade and continue to evolve. Things like 3D printing and great pieces of software that just allow video editing or music editing. It's easier access to manufacturing supply chains, both domestically and abroad. It's better access to distribution channels, right? So iTunes and YouTube, and the know-how to create these things. And it's sort of opened up this explosion of creativity and entrepreneurship across the world that now allows individuals or small teams to get together and produce the first smartwatch the first real good smartwatch before any major corporation did, to produce a virtual reality headset. And that's just a totally different world that we are starting to enter into and sort of figure out together, which is just incredibly exciting. So create something to share with others is really as much like a description of what we do. It's a call to action, right? We can now create kind of anything we want of ourselves, any idea we have, and share it with the world. And that's an incredible opportunity that I think we're just all starting to wake up to more and more. Our founder likes to say, Yancey, we're all capable of creating extraordinary things. And I think everyone at Kickstarter really believes that to be true and has seen it to be true, because people are creating amazing things. On Kickstarter, since 2009, we've had 84,000 projects be successfully funded. That's 84,000 ideas that now exist in the world. Thanks to this community coming together, we've had $1.7 billion pledged to those projects. We have this fantastic and robust creative community of backers. We have 8.5 million backers across the world. 2.5 million of those backers are repeat backers. About 250,000 of them have backed 10 or more projects. There's 2 people at Kickstarter that have backed more than 1,000 projects, which is insane. I think they maybe have developed special programs to find projects and back them. It's just remarkable. In fact, more than 60% of the money raised on Kickstarter comes from repeat backers. So it's that community that keeps coming back and supporting projects. It's fascinating. And if you've heard me speak earlier today, it's something that I think is underappreciated. The creators get all the spotlight, but I think backers, and particularly this backer community that's funding these projects, are just as valuable in the ecosystem, but much less understood. Our backers come from nearly every country on Earth, and certainly every continent. There's a super backer that lives in Antarctica named Mr. Fantastic. So if you guys do a Kickstarter project, he might pop up on your backer list. I'll say that in the Netherlands, over our time here, we've seen that actually more than 50% of the money raised in the Netherlands comes from outside the Netherlands. So it really is a global community. These are some of the really fun projects that we've seen get made. Oculus Rift, of course, supported by almost 10,000 people, brought virtual reality to the masses. If you haven't tried an Oculus Rift, I highly recommend it. It is crazy. The future is going to be nuts. We've had 7 Kickstarter-funded projects get nominated for an Academy Award. In 2013, we had one actually win one, Innocente. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Art funded on Kickstarter has been featured in major museums all over the world. This is a really cool project that's actually a landmine discovery device. It like rolls around in landmine areas and blows up landmines. 3Doodler, which is actually shipping right now, was introduced as a 3D printing pen. It's hard to describe, but it's amazing, and it's a bestseller in like the MoMA design store in New York, which is just really exciting. It's great design. These are 2 Dutch artists, Haas and Hans, who are collaborating on painting an entire favela in Rio, which is just a great example of how international these projects are, how like cross-border and cross-community they are. And even otherworldly, at least a dozen projects have gotten launched into space off of Kickstarter. We actually have a big one coming up this week that I don't think is launched yet, so I can't say anything about it, but really important space project is coming up. So inside of Kickstarter, these are the things that really matter to us. Creative independence is the first one. The ability, the empowering of individual people, independent people, or teams to create things. And the more that we feel empowered to do that or to participate in the creation of things, I think the more fulfilled people are, the better they take care of themselves and their neighbors and their community. It is important for us as a company as well to remain creatively independent. Our founders actually, as soon as they founded the company and took investment money a little bit in the beginning, made the decision to, and made it very clear that they weren't going to go public, that they didn't want to get bought as a company, so we can remain independent and we can make choices that do put our community first. So all of our choices as a company, really, we just sit in a room and we say, is this the right thing to do for creators? Is this the right thing to do for backers? And we don't actually worry about maximizing our profits for investors or anything like that, because we don't have to, which is fantastic. And it allows us the opportunity to really care for this sort of public resource, which is what we view Kickstarter as. We view ourselves as custodians of sort of a public space and service. And finally, we do a lot of work, and this came up in a lot of conversations today, around integrity and transparency. Just really making sure that the projects that come onto the site are presented honestly, that people understand what crowdfunding is, because it's still so new and there's still so much education that needs to be done about it to both creators and backers, and empowering creators to educate their backers. So we work very hard to make sure that identities are verified, that creators that are doing something very sophisticated show a working prototype. They can't show photorealistic renderings, because that's pretty misleading, actually, because people may not realize that that's just a computer image and not a thing that exists in the real world. And so, as a company ourselves, we try to hold ourselves out as an example of this. We show a lot of statistics, so if you go to kickstarter.com/stats, I believe is the URL, you can see live stats about what's going on Kickstarter, which is pretty rare for a company to do. We're a registered B Corp in the United States, which means that we adhere to certain kind of community principles that have to do with transparency and openness and being a good citizen. So create something to share with others. This is what all those things ladder up to. We just want to empower as many people to feel like this is possible for them in their lives. So let's talk about Kickstarter in Europe and how we are pursuing that mission here and have in the past. So this is just the very brief history of Kickstarter in Europe. So in 2012, we launched in the UK. It was our first international country. We actually launched in the UK before Canada. In April, of course, we launched in 2014. We launched in the Netherlands, so we're the second country. In September 2014, we launched in Scandinavia and Ireland. And until, let's say today, those were the only countries that we were open to. In that time, we've seen $160 million pledged to projects in Europe, which is significant, and $286 million pledged from backers in Europe. So there's still lots of room to grow in the backer community here as a creator. We've seen 6,800 successful projects. It's just great. A lot of those we've seen from the Netherlands, some great projects from the Netherlands. I'm not going to cover all of them, But Camille and the Waka Waka team have done 3 projects on the site and have raised over $750,000 from over 8,000 backers, which is just awesome. I'm going to get this name wrong, but the Atham team from, hold on. Enskede? Thank you. Is bringing home automation to almost 1,000 backers who came from 43 countries. This was one of the first projects to launch after we launched in the Netherlands, and I backed this project actually. This is a designer in Amsterdam who's creating these like wooden handbags that are just beautiful. It's such a great example of Dutch design. But obviously we aren't stopping there. We are expanding presently. So France, yesterday, creators in France were able to start building their own projects, and we launched a French translation version of the site. Today, we have projects in Germany launching for the first time. These are some of the projects that have launched already as of this morning. The Me Too, which is down in the bottom right, has already raised, I believe, at least 60,000 euros since this morning. It's a great project, but these are all great projects. It's fantastic. We have board games, we have video games, we have photography projects, journalism projects, movies, a 3D printer that prints food, which is crazy. The future is fascinating to watch. It's such a great thing to see. And we also have new features rolling out. So I think this is a big one for a lot of creators in this room who are interested in using Kickstarter, but we now display, as of like 7 hours ago, United States dollars to all the backers in the United States. So if they're looking at a project in the Netherlands, they'll see everything converted to USD so they understand what's going on, because a lot of Americans may not know what a euro is, unfortunately. We have started translating the site into other languages. A lot of that's building infrastructure just to do that, so we've already launched translations in German and French. We have more on the way. We built out a great tool for video closed captioning, because that's such an important part of communicating with backers. And you can launch these you can build these tracks in other languages for your video. And we've started the process of expanding our payment options. So just this morning, we opened up direct debit payments for backers in Germany. But we have more to come. And in the Netherlands, we've already seen so much creativity, so many things get made, and such a great, diverse creator and backer community, and we just cannot wait to see what you guys do next. If you are interested in launching a Kickstarter project, you can actually write me, jon@kickstarter.com, and I will probably put you in touch with the right person to help you guide your project. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Jon. Thanks.